So we're going to be telling stories today, and our first story is about the women of the Unitarian Society of New Haven. Some of our stories of Unitarian and Universalist justice makers are about how injustice, the diminishment of a person's dignity, inherent worth, and autonomy, impact our most personal choices. We begin our first story by remembering that we make promises to honor love and justice above all else.
Unitarian Universalists believe that freedom includes the right to make decisions about our own bodies. We believe that people who can get pregnant always have the right to make decisions about their own reproductive health. In 1879, the state of Connecticut banned the sale and use of birth control. Under this law, which stood for over 80 years, a woman in Connecticut could not legally purchase any form of birth control. In 1961, Estelle Griswold put Connecticut's ban on birth control to the test by opening a birth control clinic in New Haven. The simple act of civil disobedience resulted in the police shutting down the clinic and arresting Estelle Griswold, Deborah Weiner, a UU religious active educator, recalls.
My mother was one of the founders of the Unitarian Universalist Society of New Haven. She, along with a bunch of activist Unitarian women, were leaders with Planned Parenthood of New Haven. During the time the clinic was closed, the board was determined to continue dispensing birth control. They set up in our basement with the windows cardboarded up, typewriters set up, boxes of diaphragms and gel and birth control pills everywhere. I was warned not to tell anyone what was going on. I was told that it could result in my mom getting arrested. So I kept quiet, and the operation continued. When the Griswold v. Connecticut ruling came down from the Supreme Court in 1965, there was a huge celebration in New Haven. My mother and her friends, who were almost all UUs, were heroes because they carried on even when the police tried to stop birth control from being available.
Our bodies are sacred. No matter how many bodies bear scars from misogyny encoded into law, from violence, from lack of access to medical care, women's bodies are sacred. And so are the choices offered by reproductive freedom.
Our second story, the Clergy Consultation Service. Unitarian Universalists know that life comes with hard choices, and we believe that pregnant people can be trusted to make those hard choices, including the decision to terminate a pregnancy.
Even after the Griswold v. Connecticut ruling in 1965, it was difficult for women to get birth control in many areas of the country. It was illegal and often deadly to seek an abortion. In 1967, an unlikely group formed to help women obtain safe abortions, the Clergy Consultation Service, an underground network of rabbis and ministers, including UU ministers.
The charge for aiding and abetting an illegal abortion was a $1,000 fine and up to a year in prison. But the Clergy Consultation Service operated out in the open, says one minister, sending the message that we were choosing to defy the law in order to adhere to the higher law. By 1973, roughly 1,400 clergy members across the country had helped hundreds of thousands of women access safe abortions. Having clergy take such risks helped to change social attitudes about abortion. And the case that became Roe v. Wade started in Texas with encouragement from the Unitarian Universalists, especially the Women's Alliance of the First Unitarian Church of Dallas.
Today, we affirm this commitment. In the words of Reverend Lisa Sargent, the movements for reproductive rights, for gay and lesbian rights, for civil rights, for immigrant rights, for human rights cannot be separated. Each of them is fundamentally about ensuring that every person has control over their own life.
Our third story is about AIDS, and it shows us again that no one is outside the circle of love, and no one is disposable.
In 1982, the CDC created the term AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, to describe an infection that was killing people. As the AIDS epidemic grew to claim lives of tens of thousands each year, it became clear that AIDS was moving with particular vengeance through the gay community. The response from both secular and religious voices was silence or outright condemnation. Many churches refused to hold funerals for gays. For gay men and their own families would turn away from them.
Unitarian Universalist ministers were among the few clergy who entered the pastoral breach, grieving with and tending to the dying. One of them, Rev. Kim Crawford Harvey, recalls, "I conducted the early memorial services with the clear insight that the first victims of a massive shipwreck were just washing ashore, though I couldn't possibly have imagined the magnitude of the loss. Time and again, we stood facing the ocean and scattered the ashes of our dead into the world."
Harvey remembers sitting in silence with a dying parishioner. "Listen," he said, breaking the silence, "in all this madness, even if it kills every single one of us, there's no one left to tell the stories. It matters that we love each other well. We are left to tell the stories. It matters that we continue to love each other well, that we make promises to honor and love justice."
Responding to injustices, past and present. In our final story today, we recognize yet again that none of us is truly free until we all are free.
On Sunday, March 7th, 1965, Alabama state troopers attacked 600 unarmed protesters as they walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge outside Selma, in an attack that became known as Bloody Sunday. The following day, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called on clergy across the nation to come to Selma to witness the brutality and to bring national attention to the violence and injustice there. In his call to clergy, Dr. King wrote,
"No American is without responsibility. The people of Selma will struggle on for the soul of the nation, but it is fitting that all America help to bear the burden. I call therefore on clergy of all faiths, representative of every part of the country, to join me for a minister's march. In this way, all America will testify to the fact that the struggle in Selma is for the survival of democracy everywhere in our land."
In 1965, clergy from around the country, including our own Reverend Menker, responded to Dr. King's call and helped the country see the civil rights struggle as a national moral crisis rather than a local struggle. That put pressure on the federal government to pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which it did just 10 days later. And the struggle for the survival of democracy continues today. In 2026, again, clergy from all over the country, including our own Reverend Dance, responded to the call to come to Minneapolis to bear witness to the ongoing injustice of our own government.
Our clergy leads, but the greater responsibility is ours. Our faith calls us to affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, to side with love, and to work for justice. When our neighbors are under siege, living our principles demands we show up. We go to bear witness, to use our bodies and our covenant to say, "Not here, not in our name."
Our response to all injustice must be as a community, not only as individuals. No one of us is powerful enough to defeat the oppressions we're experiencing, but together we can respond powerfully. Some of us witnessing in person, others supporting at a distance, all of us answering the call.
Unitarian Universalism is for those who have seen the arc bend toward justice, and those who doubt that it will ever bend, but nevertheless know we must act as if our own lives depend on it anyway. So we resist any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity. We know that now on earth is our chance to create heaven. We know that love crosses borders and prison walls, lives in queer families and disability justice organizers, thrives among trans young people and working class elders. The flame is now ours, as is the work. We side with love, we work for justice, and we carry the flame forward.